Hello again, my MMA true believers. I'm Jason Burgos for SureDog.com, and today I'm joined by a man that has been a pro fighter since 2012 and is at a career crossroads. He's a 12-fight UFC veteran and a former flyweight title contender who is now looking to decide what's next for his fight career outside of the UFC, and that man is the one known as the Taz Mexican Devil, aka Ray Borg. Mr. Taz Mexican, sir, thank you for the time to talk the latest in life and your career.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to do this interview.
So I'm going to jump right into it. Before we talk about the run with the UFC ending, on Friday night of last week, MMA Junkie runs a story of your Instagram post you made, and you have since taken down, where you said, been in this game for a solid 14 years. Never did I think retirement would come at age 27. Talk to me about what led to that post, and then eventually, walking it back and saying, no, I'm not leaving this up there.
Yeah, damn, man, it's been a crazy road, being in the UFC at 20 and things like that. It's been wild, and being released from the UFC, I've been stressed out, been depressed. To be truly honest, man, I'm gonna cut it to you completely straight in this interview. I mean, I ain't got nothing to be ashamed of at this point. I ain't got nothing to hide. So, to be truly honest, my depression and stress got the best of me, and I was really in it that day, and I was just done. I just didn't really want much more of the sport. I have a family, I have a wife, I have a son, and the first thing I thought to myself is, I let myself get cut from the UFC, and I got to put food on the table. I gotta provide. I gotta keep the lights on. I think the best thing to do for myself and my family is to just straight up get a 9-to-5, man. As gut wrenching as something like that is to say, I was like, I got a son. He's got medical bills. He's got, he has, MRI checkups and things like that. I got to provide for him, and I got to make sure that's okay. So, my first thought was, I gotta call it quits, guys. I gotta be done, and I gotta just, live that blue collar life. And, I had intentions on retiring. I really did. But I started getting messages from people, and the ones that really hit me hard is I started getting messages from kids who I used to coach and train when I was over at Fit and HB, young kids, who come from, trouble beginnings and things like that. And I always strived and told them to work hard, and, they can get themselves out of the gutter and things like that. And I had some kids message me and say, "Hey, coach, you can't retire. You taught me to be tougher than that. You're too young. You have too much skills. You can't retire. It's too soon for you. You're only 27." And then, I talked to my wife, and to be truly honest, my wife didn't really know that I was going to retire. I was like, hey, I decided that I was going to retire. So she comes at me and she goes, "Well, what are you doing? Why are you retiring?" And I was like, "I have to. I gotta pay the bills for you guys, man." And she's like, "No, you can't. You can't." And she let me know that I owe it to my son. I can't have my son look at me in 10 years and tell me, "Dad, why'd you quit?" I'm one of the most talented guys in the world. I feel like on a good day, I'm unbeatable. And, I couldn't do it, man. I owe it to too many people to get myself out of this gutter and continue with trying to make it.
When this release from the UFC came down a few weeks back, did part of you kind of expect it? During your time in the UFC, you had weight cut issues on 4 occasions, had to pull out of fights on 8 different occasions, but though that wasn't all your fault. Sometimes one was the Conor McGregor bus incident thing. Then also, the well-documented stuff with your son's health conditions. It's difficult too. After all that, and then this latest missed fight with Manes, was the release in your mind almost warranted, because the UFC, even in your mind, that you felt that they did give you a lot of chances throughout your time there?
No, I wasn't. That was the thing too, is I'm not mad at anybody but myself. Honestly, I think that might be why this whole situation is almost so depressing and almost so hard to accept is that it'd be easy for me to just say, oh yeah, the UFC did me dirty, or oh, you know, my so-and-so didn't do this. But the hardest part about this is knowing that I more or less took it for myself, you know, given there were some situations that were out of my control, but there were some situations that I could have put in my control. And I even texted Sean Shelby after all this. I said, hey man, if you guys let me go and I'm cut, hey, thank you for believing in me. Thank you for giving a kid like me who comes from nothing a shot. And hey, I ain't mad at you. I understand. I'm a very understanding guy, and I knew it was coming. I knew I was on thin ice to begin with, you know, given recent situations. So I wasn't mad. I totally understood the decision, you know.
Was there ever a time during these weird, like bad luck, you know, tough, difficult times where those things happen, misfights happen, that even during your UFC run that you felt maybe similar, like, oh man, this is it. They're probably going to cut me here. And is that part of why you are so appreciative? Were there times throughout these tough situations where the UFC was always understanding and the matchmakers like Shelby and Maynard, they were like, listen, Ray, you know, we understand. Don't worry about it. And you always felt secure even during these weird things.
No, I think that's a really good way to put it. Is I think you know, I felt too secure in every situation that happened. You know, you know, if I got sick or anything like that, and things with my son, you know, things with my son are understandable. And you know, he has a lifelong condition. You know, his condition is not going away ever in his entire life. There's no cure for it, no nothing. So, you know, I think I relied on them being too understanding with stuff, and I think it definitely led to bad situations. And you know, a lot of it's out of my control, but you know, a lot of it could have been in my control. So, you know, with that being said, you know, it is what it is, and I just kind of have to, you know, climb myself out of it.
What's the one and two levels of one to get kind of like, what's the parenting situation for you? One, what's the latest with your son? Any differences and change that? And also in one of your posts, you mentioned that, you know, one of the adding stresses recently was you were taking on, as you put it, a very troubled 8-year-old girl. Is that 8-year-old girl you mentioned in that Instagram post, is she like a daughter? Is she a niece? Is she like a cousin? Is she like non-familial connection? And how did she come about being involved in your family's life? So how is it with the situation with your son and this new young girl that's a part of your family?
You know, I actually just saw her this weekend. She's my niece. She's kind of always been more of a daughter to me than anything. You know, as far as my son's doing well. He's healthy. We're getting close on being 2-year surgery free. Next, in 2 months, he'll have gone 2 years without needing a surgery. So, awesome. You know, with his condition, it's just monitoring him day to day. You know, me and my wife tackle on a lot every day because, you know, it's not just smooth sailing. He's very, well, not, I can't say very, he's delayed with a lot of his skill set. So, you know, when most kids are talking and saying things right now, you know, we finally got him up to his age speed, and it takes a lot of work between me and my wife to, I guess that's one of the most stressful things about, you know, the thought of having to get a 9-to-5 is that between me and my wife, it's, you know, we really work hard on getting my son up to speed. You know, he had a specialist who came in and helped us, you know, I think for the last 2 years, he seen an occupational therapist, and, you know, they just made sure his motor skills were on point and things like that. So, you know, between the both of us, it's a lot of work to make sure that happens. And now, you know, being 2 years old, he's just been assigned a speech therapist. So, you know, he's doing well, though. He's getting caught up really, really fast. He's a strong boy, man. He's really developing well. But as far as the other situation goes, about a year ago, about almost 2 years ago, I come from a really troubled background. That's the thing that people don't understand is I've you know, I've had a really tough childhood, a tough life, and you know, unfortunately, my sister had started to follow into those footsteps of the things that we come from. Yeah. So my niece, my sister, you know, for lack of better words, she abandoned her, you know, as truthful and hard it is to say, you know, she abandoned her daughter and pretty much left her with me and my wife. And given we just had our first child, we're barely learning about parenting ourselves. Our son has a condition, and we tackle on the responsibility of, we took custody of her, and you know, she was living with us, and you know, we're treating her like our daughter. We were we were doing the best that we could by her. And, my family being, my family history being so shaky and things like that, she was with us for about a good year and a half. She was with us, and she just moved back with her mom about 3 months ago. So she's been, her mom's getting it together. My sister is getting it together. She's doing better. She's back. She's on the right track. So, she's doing well for herself. But, in that period of time, it was straining on myself and my wife having to treat a little girl who, was really resentful, was going through a lot of, personal issues herself. My wife had to pretty much be her mom. So, it's a really tough situation. And it really put a big strain on us as a family to be able to handle all of that all at once. So, that was one of the big things that, was involved in our lives during, this whole rocky part of my career.
Now, going into that same idea of just how time consuming it is, just in general, to be a parent and a parent to children with special needs and stuff like that. You just turned 27 a few weeks ago. So happy belated birthday to you, sir. Now, so honestly, you could retire for 5 years and come back at 32 and still have prime years ahead of you. Does part of you feel like being a professional fighter and the demands that come from it just do not make any sense in the life you have, that maybe a good 2-3 years of dedication to the family, developing, a set routine, your continued progression of your son kind of has to happen before even, more fighting even can be thought of?
I've thought about that a lot. A lot of people are telling me that, like, that, hey, man, like, it's hard to believe that I actually am only 27,
Yeah.
Given everything I've gone through, the things that I've accomplished in this short time, and, the tasks that I've had to accomplish, it's hard to believe that I'm only 27. It's like, sometimes I'm like, I tell my wife, I was like, man, we need to do this. What's wrong with us? And then, people have to point out, like, dude, I mean, when I was 27, I was, barely getting a job type deal. So, like, I was barely starting a career. So, it's one of those things where, it does, it does sound okay to do that, but I don't know if I can do that. There's no way I can provide for my family the way that I have. And that's through fighting. And I'm really good at it. Honestly, if I take a year off, I think that's plenty for myself. It's more of getting my outside life taken care of, so that way it's not affecting me inside the octagon is the very biggest thing for myself. So, it's, I'm not too sure where it's going to go. I do know I'm not retiring. I just kind of have to get some shit together, straight up, man. I've been, it's been so stressful on me, man. I've been straight up just hustling DoorDash just to make sure I'm not shrinking my bank account. That's the most unfortunate thing is I come from nothing, my family all works like McDonald's type jobs. So no one's ever had any money in their life. So, being the age that I'm at, no one has taught me how to properly almost be a man. That's the simple way to put it. I've had to teach myself to be a man. Me and my dad haven't been close since, as of recently. My mom's always been in and out of trouble and things like that. So I've had to, matter of fact, a big thing people don't know is since I've been in the UFC, I've been taking care of, my brother. My brother started living with me when he was 14, and he's 21 now. He still lives with me. Needs to get his shit and get out now. He's got a good job now. So it's about, I'm about ready to tell him, hey man, you're 21, you got a good job, you gotta get the hell out. But I helped take care of him. I pretty much raised my brother. And that's hard to do when you're trying to raise yourself and you're trying to become a man. So, one thing that, I was never taught was the right things to do with, finances. So, the money that I have now, I'm trying to make sure, because I don't know what the hell is going to happen next. I got to make sure I'm not, shrinking everything for my son,
Now, let's say assuming, you want to get back into the game within the next year or so, get back to fight. You have one of the best managers in the business in Ali Abdelaziz. He's the kind of guy that can get you a contract wherever you feel like you want to fight. Is there a preference for you in a fighting return? Is it the biggest stage and best competition possible to face? Does part of you have interest in competing like internationally for locations where Ryzen or one championship would be, or when like the PFL returns next year, does their schedule and format, which is very structured with specific dates over a 6-month period, you know when you're going to fight in advance, and the format of wins and losses, they determine the future. Does something like that appeal to you? A PFL run, maybe?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say where I want to end up. I mean, I've had my thoughts. I've even had, old teammates tell me, well, why don't you sign with this organization? I heard they pay really well. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny that no matter what I think my mindset is, it always comes back to truthfully being the same. So I always tell myself, hey, I got a family, I got to get paid, which is true. I do got to get paid. My family needs to eat. Our bills need to get paid. But deep down inside, that's not quite good enough for me, in the sense that someone had told me, oh, well, what if Bellator offers you a great contract? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But in my heart, what means most to me is being best in the world. So I want to just go wherever I'm going to be pushed, and wherever I'm going to fight the best in the world, truth be told. So, if I have a preference, I would love to, to get some things under control. I still believe I'm a true flyweight. I really do. I mean, man, I'm seeing some of these guys at 35, and it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, how the hell are you not even, like, how are you barely making 35? Like, you should be making 45 or 55. Like, those dudes are big. So, although I can compete with them, I truly feel like I am a 25er. So, I obviously, that's a long, long talk away, and, a lot of miles ahead of me. But, ONE FC I know has some amazing flyweights. Obviously, Demetrius is there. So it's kind of wherever. I mean, Ali. The thing about Ali isn't a businessman. He's really looks out for his fighters' best interests, and I didn't think about that. I didn't really ever realize that he truly is in it for his fighters' best interests. So I believe that when the time comes, he will definitely put me what's good for me, and what's in my best interest.
So in a way, based off what you're telling me, and it's not just about the biggest paycheck, which would be completely understandable in your situation. So in your mind, would almost the perfect path be for you, maybe like something like PFL that's only 6 months for 1 year, or even LFA, get a couple of notable wins under your belt, and you want to be back kind of the UFC as fast as possible? That would be the preferred option.
Yeah, that was the first thing that ran through my mind, is like, what, let's get everything under control. Because me, I have no lack of wanting to fight, no lack of wanting to do this anymore. I love to fight. It's what I love to do. I've just let so much of my outside life get in the way of, me in the octagon. I've let it put too much stress. It's caused me anxiety. Like, truth be told, being away from my son, the thing about my son and his condition is it's not like any other kid, where when a kid takes a nap and let's say he sleeps for like an hour longer or something like that, it's like, oh, he must have been tired today. Yeah. He must have had a rough day. With our son, if he sleeps too long, the first thing we got to think of is, dang, he's sleeping a long time. That's usually sign that he might be having a shunt malfunction. When he throws up, it's not like most kids where it's like, oh, they have an upset stomach. No, he could be having a shunt malfunction. So, truth be told, I get a little bit of anxiety when I leave him. It's developed a lot of anxiety, even just day-to-day living. So, like today, it's overcast here in Albuquerque, and he's not really having the best day. He's real quiet. When the barometric pressure changes, it really affects his head. He has headaches and things like that. So, it's caused a lot of anxiety that I need to get under control. And so my first thing was, when I'm ready, hey, I really do feel like there's levels, and I'm on a totally different level. That's what's the most unfortunate thing about getting cut is I almost feel like I shouldn't be here. I should, I'm one of the best in the world. I shouldn't just be out of the UFC. There's only a handful of people in this sport that actually have seen how good I am. I love my manager to death, Ali, but not even Ali knows how good I am. There's a very few handful of people that have seen how truly good I am. And that's one of the unfortunate things is I'm trying to showcase that. So that was one of the things I thought about was going in there, beating up some dudes in LFA, winning the belt, and then once I could show the UFC, hey, I've got it all under control, I'm ready to rock. Just get back to it and do what I set out to do, which is be a UFC champion. As much as I want to get around and say, hey, if ONE FC offered me $500,000 or something like that, it's still about doing what I set out to do when I was 13 years old. A lot of people have a hard time understanding when I tell them I've been in this game a long time, since I was 13. I wasn't 13 years old taking jiu-jitsu classes, beginners classes, and beginner kickboxing classes. Nah, I was in it at 13 years old. I was getting punched in the face with ground. I was in it at 13. So I've been in this sport for a really long time, and I always tell my wife, because my wife's trying to get her career back on track. She started off with bad management, and it led to her having an upside down record. And she's very talented, and she's trying to get it together. And I'm like, hey, you just gotta be able to get yourself in and out of it when you need to. And I can't tell her that and not do it myself. Even if it does take a whole year, I finally come to terms. I guess that was the thing that made me want to retire too, is I had almost a sense of entitlement where I felt like, well, you know what? I screwed up in the UFC, but I am one of the best in the world, so I should get a call quickly to at least go fight somewhere else. Yeah. So I almost was too entitled to that in my head. And I think because it didn't happen in the snap of a finger where someone's like, oh, come on, we'll offer you good money here, Ray, until you get your shit together. I think that's what I had to come to terms with the most. And I'm at peace with that. I'm at peace that if it takes about a whole year and a half to get it done, then that's what it's going to take. And, I plan on doing whatever I need to do to get back to that spot.